Imagine you're walking through a forest millions of years ago. A sudden rustle in the bushes. You turn, and your heart stops. A pair of eyes glowing with hunger stares back. It's not a monster from a movie. It's real, and it's what our ancestors faced every single day. This isn't just history. It's the story of how we survived against all odds. Welcome to the Pleistocene epoch, a time of giants and ice. The world was a brutal, unforgiving place. Our early human ancestors, like Homo habilis and later Homo erectus, were not at the top of the food chain. Far from it, they were small, relatively weak, and constantly hunted. Every day was a fight for survival, a desperate struggle against predators that make today's lions and tigers look like house cats. Think about it. You wake up not to an alarm clock, but to the distant roar of a saber-toothed cat, its fangs, as long as your hand, could slice through flesh and bone with terrifying ease. You leave your cave or simple shelter, not to go to work, but to find food, knowing that you are also on the menu. The air is filled with the scent of pine, damp earth, and danger. The landscape itself was an enemy. Glaciers carved through the continents, shifting the climate dramatically. One generation might live in a temperate woodland, the next in a freezing, windswept steppe. Our ancestors had to be adaptable. They had to learn to read the signs of nature, to know which plants were safe to eat, where to find clean water, and most importantly, how to avoid becoming a meal. Their diet was a mix of whatever they could find. They were scavengers and opportunistic hunters, a mammoth killed by a pack of dire wolves. That was a feast if you could get to it before other scavengers and before the wolves decided you were dessert. They'd use crude stone tools to crack open bones for the rich, nutritious marrow inside a vital source of fat and calories that fueled their growing brains. These early tools, simple flakes of stone, were a revolutionary technology. They were the Swiss Army knives of the Stone Age. With a sharp-edged stone, you could butcher an animal, scrape hides for warmth, or sharpen a wooden spear. This was the beginning of human ingenuity, the first spark of the creativity that would eventually lead us to build cities and travel to the stars. But tool use wasn't just about food. It was about defense. A group of early humans, armed with sharpened sticks and throwing rocks, was a much more formidable opponent than a lone individual. They learned to cooperate, to work together. This social bonding was perhaps their greatest weapon. They formed small, tight-knit bands, likely no more than 20 or 30 individuals. They shared food, cared for the young and the sick, and defended each other against the constant threats. Communication was key. While they didn't have complex language like we do, they would have used a combination of grunts, gestures, and simple calls to coordinate their actions. Imagine a hunt, a group of Homo erectus moving silently through the tall grass, using hand signals to surround a giant deer. The tension, the focus, the absolute reliance on each other. It's a scene of incredible drama. A single mistake could mean injury or death. One of the biggest game changers in human history was the mastery of fire. At first, they probably harvested it from natural sources, like lightning strikes. They would have desperately tried to keep these embers alive, carrying them from place to place. Learning to create fire at will was a monumental leap. Fire provided warmth against the bitter cold of the Ice Age. It kept nocturnal predators at bay, creating a safe circle of light in the terrifying darkness. And it changed their diet forever. Cooking food not only made it easier to chew and digest, but also killed harmful bacteria and unlocked more nutrients. This surge in energy intake is thought to be a major factor in the evolution of our large, complex brains. The campfire became the heart of the community. Around its flickering flames, they would have shared food, made tools, and strengthened their social bonds. It was the first living room, the first school, the first theater. But let's not romanticize it. Life was incredibly hard. The fossil record is filled with evidence of trauma and hardship. Skeletons show signs of healed fractures, diseases, and malnutrition. Infant mortality was brutally high. A simple infection from a cut could be a death sentence. The average life expectancy was probably not much more than 30 years. To survive into old age was a remarkable achievement. They faced predators we can barely imagine. Besides these saber-toothed cats, there were giant short-faced bears, bigger and faster than any grizzly today. There were packs of dire wolves, and in the skies, massive birds of prey could have easily snatched a small child. Every step outside the safety of the group was a gamble. Fear was a constant companion. Now for the twist. We often think of these early humans as primitive, just one step above apes. But recent discoveries are changing that picture dramatically. Evidence suggests they were far more capable and emotionally complex than we ever gave them credit for. For instance, archaeologists have found collections of tools and animal bones hundreds of miles from their origin. This implies they had extensive territories, a deep understanding of geography, and perhaps even primitive trade networks. Even more surprising is the evidence for compassion. At a site in Georgia, the skull of an elderly individual from 1.8 million years ago was found. This person had lost all their teeth long before they died. They would have been unable to chew tough, raw meat. For them to have survived for years in this condition means that someone else in their group was feeding them, perhaps chewing their food for them. This is empathy. This is the beginning of humanity. Think about the sheer resilience. They faced ice ages, supervolcanoes, and a world of monsters. They were pushed to the brink of extinction multiple times. Yet they didn't just survive, they adapted, they innovated. They spread out from Africa, populating every corner of the globe. Every single one of us is a descendant of these incredibly tough, resourceful, and cooperative people. Their struggle is our origin story. As the millennia passed, their tools became more sophisticated, their hunting strategies more complex, and their social structures more elaborate. They began to create art, burying their dead with ceremony, asking the big questions about life and the universe. The seeds of culture, art, and religion were sown around those ancient campfires. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by the challenges of modern life, take a moment to remember your ancestors. Remember the man who faced a saber-tooth with nothing but a sharpened stick. Remember the woman who kept a fire burning through a blizzard to protect her family. Their blood runs in your veins. Their legacy of survival, of ingenuity, and of compassion is your inheritance. The story of their struggle is the story of our triumph, and this incredible journey was only just beginning. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into our deep past fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss what came next.